Why do you care what happens to her?
Because I was her.
I can see you're very upset. I'm going to help you protect the girl.
It is interesting that Sarah has kind of become the Terminator of Terminators. Meanwhile, the T-800, or Carl, has kind of maximized his humanity. I'm curious for both of you if that kind of made it a completely different experience than when you were filming the first two Terminator films.
Maybe not completely different, but because we are playing the same characters who are just going through an evolution. And that's what intrigues me about these movies, and the ones that I've been in anyway, is that the characters, you never quite know what version of Sarah Connor or the T-800 you're gonna find. Mm-hmm. Is he the protector? Is he the killer? Is she unhinged? She's more unhinged than ever, sure. And sort of a woman without a mission in this film, and she's lost and has kind of lost her sense of humanity as well. So that's fun to get to play with, you know, and then the audience will get to see the characters take a journey. And that, I think, is what makes that story and character is what makes a film work.
I cannot give the story away, so I cannot really get into it. I just tell you that I was very happy that the character evolved, and it has a certain kind of a decision-making power, even though he is a programmed machine to kill. Mm-hmm. And I think that creates enough of a conflict to make it very interesting to act out.
When this is all over, I am going to kill you.
I understand.
One thing just is that's interesting about the Rev 9 as a design is the fact that he's able to kind of split from his endoskeleton. Like, how would you kind of do that on set, or was that kind of more of a VFX just driven thing?
Yeah, no, yeah. I had the privilege of being able to play both. Yeah. And I would put on my mocap suit. And what's cool about the existing motion capture technologies, you no longer need to fit the whole stage with cameras all over the place, and you no longer need to wear all the little mocap balls at your joints. Mm-hmm. You could just capture it with whatever film camera you're shooting with, and
in real environments.
And they'll have in the real environments, and you'll have the information for the incredible VFX wizards. So I mean, there was me as me, and then there was me as my skeleton, where I got to just use the whole instrument head to toe.
Rev 9, T1000, T800, put them in a room, lock the door, who walks away?
I mean, that's quite clear. It's the Rev 9.
If travel is searching.
The way that this film opens is just so relentless. Like, there's so many like action movies that would just like cut it off like halfway through what that is, but it just keeps going and going and going. I'm curious just about kind of the development of that scene, and also just kind of your philosophy of how it fits into the larger picture.
Well, this may be difficult to believe, but that's about half as long as I originally pre-visited. Really? Because after the car accident, there was actually a whole motorcycle chase and another pickup thing in an earlier version of it, and then I decided I was going a little too far. As a fan of the franchise, I feel like I have a good barometer on what's bad fan service and what's good fan service. Like, what do I want to see as a fan versus what do I feel like, okay, that's just, hasta la vista, baby, check it off. That we're probably all better off not having. Mm-hmm. But a big truck chase in Terminator movie is kind of like, I want to see that. You got to have that. It's one of the staples that I think people, they expect because they want to see it. And so I tried to deliver, despite never having done really a car chase before. The one we did in Deadpool was all digital.
Yeah.
So this one was
new experience.
It was new experience. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Sure. Luckily, we have lots of talented people on set who can say, well, here's how you do it.
He's so good at visual effects and action. He just has such an eye for it, and he planned everything out. By the time he was casting us, we already had our fights planned out, so he could show us the pre-visualizations of it, and we could see what our characters were going to do. And that continued on set, where we always had this video file of what was going to happen on the day that we fought. So it was huge and felt like this enormous landscape that we were entering, but he sort of made it as possible as it could be for us to do well under those circumstances.
For you as well?
Yeah, I think he was a great leader. I think he's a guy that, he's an expert in visual effects and that, but he also cared about the characters and these emotional scenes and the characters. That was also important. You need to care about them, so you care about the movie. So I think it was the perfect balance of a great action movie with tons of visual effects, but also a great story with great characters.
My hat's off to our stunt team, everyone involved, Phil Silvera and Mike Masson, everybody who assembled the team, and then of course Freddie B, Morgan and Jason, and then all of our Hungarian stunt guys, all of our Spanish stunt guys who flying around on wires and taking knocks and doing everything they can to make me look like this unstoppable monster.
Sure.
And, so I have to thank them for all of that. And they there's a Hungarian guy busted his shoulder one time because dislocated his shoulder in that big scrum. And he, wherever you are, brother, thank you for that.
Expect a big ping, brother. The whole body's a weapon. Sorry.
In addition to both of you coming back to this franchise, obviously James Cameron is back and having written and produced this film. I'm curious, just knowing that he didn't spend a great deal of amount of time on set, what you feel like his influence on this film was?
Well, the fact that on this film, okay, because obviously he's the dynamo behind the franchise, and I recognize that early days, and didn't want to come back unless James came back as well. So there's that, I mean, he's got an amazing mind and an amazing sense. We still struggled with script, all of us, because it's a complex world, and even though we had the vague outline of a shape to the movie, none of us really knew who Sarah Connor would be within that story. Many discussions, is she a hopeless alcoholic like Rooster Cogburn in True Grit? Has she gone off and tried to, because it's been 28 years, I mean, what has she done? Has she gone off and tried to live a normal life? Has she become a school teacher? I mean, there were so endless possibilities. And carefully and slowly, we started sort of wringing them down into a real shape.
But I mean, Jim definitely had a tremendous impact, and even to create this sixth Terminator, because I remember when he told me, I think I was the first one that he ever told the story to, he says, here's the new idea for a new Terminator. And he told me the story, and he said, and we're gonna bring Linda back. And I said, I'm in. So it was, so that's where it started. Without him, there would have been no start. Yeah. And so he then, hired the writers that worked with him while he was, prepping and shooting Avatar and all those things. So I think he did an extraordinary job, and he was on top of the situation. He was part of the casting. He's the one that called Linda and to bring her back, and all of those kind of things. So I think that he had a tremendous influence on this project.
I'll be back.
He is incredible. He's an incredible genius. He's a cinematic master, and everything he touches turns to gold, it seems. So I was happy. I was excited. I went back and watched every interview he's ever done, watched his TED Talk, and have him describe how he wanted to do a completely CGI movie before anybody even knew what that was. And when they wouldn't greenlight that, he was like, all right, well, I want to go to the bottom of the ocean and see the Titanic. So maybe I'll just write a movie around that and pitch it. And sure enough, they bought that. So, and that became the highest grossing movie of all time.
Sure.
So he's incredible. He's a genius. And I just, it's kind of crazy. I got to talk to him for the first time on Skype a few weeks ago. And I got to tell him about how the only two films I've ever seen in the theater with my grandfather before he passed was my debut in a film that premiered at South by Southwest 2005 and Avatar.
That's awesome.
In 3D. And all my grandpa could do with his 3D glasses on was just like giggle and say, that's weird. And then Jim's like, yeah, well, we shoot for weird.
That's
so that's cool. He's a cool guy.